In 45 BC, Julius Caesar marched into southern Hispania to crush the last Pompeian army, led by Gnaeus Pompeius the Younger. Rome's civil war neared its final chapter. Caesar's forces overwhelmed the Pompeians at Munda. Gnaeus fell during the bloody retreat. The battle was brutal, decisive, and final. Organized resistance to Caesar's rule collapsed. Munda made Caesar undisputed master of Rome. Within a year he was assassinated, but his victory here set the stage for the Roman Empire that would follow. In 180 AD, Rome stood at its peak. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, philosopher and warrior, ruled from a frontier camp near modern Vienna, holding the empire together. On March 17, Marcus Aurelius died at Vindobona. He passed power to his son Commodus, ending 19 years of wise, restrained rule, the last of the 5 good emperors. His death marked Rome's turning point. His meditations endure as a Stoic masterpiece, still guiding leaders and thinkers nearly 2,000 years later. In 461 AD, a Romano-British missionary named Patrick had spent decades walking the Emerald Hills of Ireland, converting a Celtic island to Christianity. On March 17, 461 AD, Patrick died at Saul, where he had built his first church, leaving behind a network of monasteries and a fully Christianized Ireland. Ireland became a beacon of Christian scholarship, preserving knowledge through the Dark Ages. March 17th is now celebrated by millions worldwide as St. Patrick's Day. In 1762, Irish soldiers serving in the British Army gathered in the cobblestone streets of colonial New York City, united by pride and longing for home. The Irish soldiers marched proudly through the city streets, playing fifes and drums, celebrating St. Patrick's Day in the first recorded parade on North American soil. That modest march grew into the world's largest St. Patrick's Day parade, a symbol of Irish-American identity still celebrated by millions every March in New York. In 1776, Boston lay under British occupation. For 11 grueling months, American colonial forces had encircled the city, waiting for their moment to strike. Washington secretly dragged cannons from Fort Ticonderoga to Dorchester Heights overnight. By dawn, British guns were outmatched. Howe had no choice but to sail away. The British fleet departed on March 17th, America's first great victory. Boston has celebrated Evacuation Day ever since, honoring the boldness that launched a revolution. In 1834, a future visionary was born in Schorndorf, Württemberg. Young Gottlieb Daimler grew up in a Germany on the cusp of industrial transformation. Daimler co-invented the high-speed petrol engine and built one of the world's first motorcycles, forever changing how humanity would move. Daimler's work birthed Mercedes-Benz and the modern automobile industry, reshaping civilization, cities, and human freedom of movement forever. In 1845, London's industrial workshops buzzed with invention. British manufacturer Stephen Perry ran a thriving rubber goods company, experimenting with vulcanized rubber's remarkable properties. On March 17, 1845, Perry received a patent for loops of vulcanized natural rubber, the rubber band. A simple ring, stretchy and strong, designed to bundle papers together. Today, billions of rubber bands are made annually worldwide. That tiny loop became one of history's most universal tools, found in every office, kitchen, and classroom. In 1948, Soviet expansion cast a shadow over Western Europe. The communist coup in Czechoslovakia had just shocked democratic nations, forcing them to unite. On March 17, 5 nations signed the Treaty of Brussels: Britain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, pledging collective defense against any armed aggression. The Brussels Treaty became NATO's blueprint. Its collective defense principle, an attack on one is an attack on all, still anchors Western security today. In 1992, South Africa stood at a crossroads. Decades of apartheid had divided the nation, and President F.W. de Klerk called a bold, historic vote. On March 17th, white South Africans voted in a whites-only referendum. An overwhelming 68.7% said yes, endorsing negotiations to dismantle apartheid and build a multiracial democracy. The mandate empowered de Klerk and Mandela to forge a new nation. By 1994, South Africa held its first free democratic elections, changing history forever. In 1992, Buenos Aires was a city of contrasts, vibrant streets masking Cold War tensions as Middle Eastern conflicts cast long shadows across the globe. On March 17th, a suicide car bomb tore through the Israeli embassy, killing 29 people and wounding nearly 250, devastation later traced to Hezbollah with Iranian backing. The attack made Argentina a front line of international terrorism, spurring major security reforms and forever changing how nations protect diplomatic outposts worldwide. In 2003, the world held its breath. Tensions between the United States and Iraq had reached a breaking point, with Washington demanding Saddam Hussein disarm. President Bush addressed the nation, giving Saddam Hussein and his sons 48 hours to leave Iraq or face military invasion. Hussein refused. On March 20th, Operation Iraqi Freedom began. The invasion reshaped the Middle East and defined a generation of global conflict. In 2014, Crimea stood at a crossroads. The peninsula, home to a Russian-majority population, had just held a snap referendum amid military tension between Ukraine and Russia. On March 17th, Crimea's parliament formally declared independence from Ukraine and requested to join Russia. Moscow accepted within hours, annexing the peninsula the very next day. The annexation triggered sweeping Western sanctions and shattered post-Cold War norms. It set the stage for a decade of escalating conflict that would reshape European security forever.